It seems to me there's only two people on these panels that aren't paid for liberal hacks. See if you can guess who the other one is. This is the first one. Let's go.
She's still receiving, Canadian taxpayers are paying her salary, $209,000 a year, while she is technically being employed by a foreign government. If that doesn't scream a blatant conflict of interest, I don't know what does.
Oh, yeah.
Gang, what's up? Aaron here. Where do they get these panels for these legacy media panel clips when they review everything? These guys are a bunch of fools, led by Vasikapellos, David Cochrane, CBC, CTV, Global's in there, all the major newspapers, radio stations. They're also heavily influenced by liberal corruption. It's a cesspool. It's dumpster fire. Let's take a look. Vasikapellos and her panel. Then we're going to cross over to David Cochrane and his. We'll try to keep these short. They're all over the place. But try to guess which ones, I think there's only two in this whole video, aren't liberal paid for hacks. Let's take a peek.
That I think there is less space between what you're hearing from conservatives and liberals at this moment in time. And it feels as though, particularly for the liberals, and I don't mean this as a crass a way as it sounds, but what is going on in Venezuela, the potential of more competition from there almost provides a little bit more political coverage to take a position that would not have been as salient for them, as recently as a year ago.
Absolutely. What's happening in Venezuela underscores, I think, everything the Prime Minister has been doing since he was elected to get more of our energy resources developed, to work with the provincial governments to accomplish that goal. I think the political reality here is, as has been discussed, most challenging for Pierre Poilievre. This issue has been taken off the table for him. He is, through his comments last night and today on getting a pipeline approved that doesn't have a proponent, he's trying to play his way into the story because it's the only way he can get any attention right now. I think a lot of political advisors to the leader of the opposition would probably be saying, affordability is the issue we win on right now. Canadians have just spent the last few weeks spending tons of money at shopping malls and grocery stores. They're looking at their credit card bills and they're feeling anxious about affordability. But Pierre Poilievre could have started the new year with a real focus on that issue. And I think it would have landed like a tree in the woods, right? I don't think there would have been any attention on it. We wouldn't be talking about it tonight. And so I do think it was smart of the Conservatives to try and deal themselves into the story that we would be focused on today and that Canadians would be, the news media and Canadians would be paying a lot of attention to. The trouble is there's just no room for them in this, right? As you point out, there's no daylight really between the two positions. I don't think the Conservatives are going to move many votes on it. It's just this sort of attempt to get into the news and get some attention on their argument here.
The only chance I see for there to be more daylight is on what sort of Steph and Kathleen referenced, Shakir, which is like execution, right? Because eventually there isn't a private proponent, but there is a proposition coming in July, apparently, according to the pipeline's new website, which has just gone up on the Alberta government's page. There will be some sort of submission made and ultimately a decision, I think, will have to be made in one way or the other. The Prime Minister will have to be more unequivocal about his position on the prospect of that pipeline. That's not in the near term. That's not in the next few weeks. Like I said, even Alberta has set out a timeline for that submission, not until the summer. Maybe they're playing the long game around that, but it still is very different than what you would expect. For example, if you put that letter out last night to Justin Trudeau, what Trudeau would have said in response.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's not a lot of wiggle room here for Pierre to kind of attack Carney on this issue, but I think you and Stephanie have it right. It's about the accountability and making sure this government executes. I know they like to call themselves Canada's new government, but I mean, listen, under Trudeau, they were very good at making announcements, very good at signing things, very bad at implementation and execution. Mark Carney has said a lot of great things, and hopefully he can deliver, but right now he's not really delivering on a lot of things. So I think for Pierre Poilievre, the thing here right now is make sure that whatever Carney says he's going to do, an MOU is nice to see, but are you actually going to move forward? If we get a private proponent, are you actually going to go to David Eby and say, you know what, this is going to move forward regardless of your opposition? I think that's where Pierre is trying to find some daylight, ensuring that things do get done. Because again, Carney came to power saying we're going to build things at speeds unimaginable. So let's get this done, right? Let's move this forward. And I think Pierre, he understands this is a conservative issue that Carney has taken a hold of, but the one thing he can do is ensure this gets executed properly and gets delivered to the people of Alberta and to Canada at large.
We'll flip over now to CBC and watch David Cochrane, ringmaster, little Caillou extraordinaire. What a bum. He's a total hack. Let's take a peek.
Well, Chrystia Freeland's pending exit from Parliament will mean a by-election in 2026, and the Prime Minister suggested rather strongly today that Freeland isn't the only Liberal MP with plans to resign their seat.
We'll have a by-election. There'll be a few by-elections coming up, and we'll run great candidates, and the people in those ridings will decide who they want to send to Parliament.
Lots of plurals there. Well, we know Chrystia Freeland will step down later this month, and we've been reporting for months that former Cabinet Minister Bill Blair is set to be the next High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, while Jonathan Wilkinson is expected to get a diplomatic post in Europe. So that could mean 3 by-elections and a drop of 3 in the Liberal seat count in a minority parliament. So we're going to start there. Michelle, you have some experience in minority parliaments. 3 vacancies, 2 appointments, 1 a resignation. That doesn't make your life any easier. But the Prime Minister made it very clear. It seems like that's where this is headed.
Well, let's also, he spoke in the plural.
Sure did.
And let's not forget Genero from Edmonton, where we expect that. He resigned quite some time ago, and
he hasn't quit yet. He said he
hasn't
would.
quit. He has a pending resignation.
Yes.
So that one is another one. So that would be plural, no matter what. But around town, certainly there's chatter. But also they have a budget bill that still hasn't made its way completely through the House. And so I would think that would be a bit of a timing consideration for whatever they do. Equally. Around town, there's still lots of talk about others who might want to join the Liberal caucus. So it will be interesting math as they kind of go forward. But I think the job number 1 for them has got to be getting this budget bill going through. And I can't imagine risking, unless they are so sure about some other crossings, that they would risk that by triggering by-elections beforehand.
Okay, that is a good point. And Gary, I hadn't considered that maybe the plural was Matt Generou, because we've not seen or heard or anything for the MP for Edmonton Riverbend, I believe it is, since that day that he quit. What do you make of this dynamic? Even the loss of Freeland, though, it does reduce the seat count by 1 at a time when, as you know, someone who worked in the House Leader's office, you don't really want to be getting rid of seats at this point.
No, that's right. And I thought the statement by the Prime Minister was interesting. It did set tongues wagging a bit in Ottawa. Ooh, by-elections. Well, how many by-elections? Although, if you take a step back, and if you were to say by-elections plural, Chrystia Freeland, University of Rosedale, a pretty safe Liberal seat, and Matt Generou, if you did it at the same time, a pretty safe Conservative seat, you're kind of going 1 for 1. So you're not really messing with the math too much. But it is an interesting turn of events. And these rumors have been going around for so long in Ottawa about who might be going when, people waiting for October 19th of last year to kick in so they could get their 6-year parliamentary pension. Now we've passed that. But Michelle is right. The main item of business is to get the Budget Implementation Act passed. And currently, it looks like they would get that done in some way, shape, or form, or would be close to doing it. They still got to get it into the House. They still got to get it into committee. And so you don't want to be messing around too much until you get that bill at least very close to passage, if not all the way through.
But, Cheryl, the parliamentary issues aside, you do need diplomats in countries like the United Kingdom and in places like the European Union, especially with all the things that are happening, right? So how do you begin to approach this as a minority government facing all of these challenges?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because what should be like the next step in Chrystia Freeland's story, which should be, an honorable and important position that she's just taken, is totally overshadowed by the fact that she has not resigned her seat. And that tells, us political watchers that there is a real political calculus going on. And I think in addition to what Michelle and others have said about, of course, you need to make sure in this minority situation that you have the votes in the House that you need to pass important pieces of legislation or pass confidence votes. In addition to that, just logistically, a by-election standpoint, if I was working on by-elections, I would want them to all happen at the same time.
Yes.
And so, you want one person to be able to run whatever it is, field for all the by-elections at one time. And once you have by-elections happening on different timelines, that becomes really complicated and you need a whole lot more people to do it. So that could be another political calculus here. But yeah, I mean, we need people in these important posts overseas now, perhaps more than we have in a very long time. And now the government's job is to try to balance that with its own political calculus internally, which obviously a very difficult thing to do.
But you know, Emily, the controversy around Freeland, I mean, there's the political self-interest of a government. Then there's the fact that she is a Canadian member of Parliament. It's an unpaid role, but it's a formal role with a foreign government. And you know, obviously her ties to Ukraine, support for Ukraine, it's in alignment with Canadian foreign policy, but she is a Canadian parliamentarian going out the door to work for a foreign government, but still there in the House of Commons. I mean, how do you view that one?
It's certainly an uncomfortable ethical position. It is ripe with conflict of interest and really very much to be avoided at all costs. And so we need to have a clearer sense of a timeline for her. I think more specifically, she could be resigning as an MP, and there's still a window of time for a by-election to be declared afterwards. And so the Prime Minister does have some wiggle room because of that still. So he needs to really be using it. To our pool of names, I will also just mention that another person who might be thinking about where else could I be useful, given the current geopolitics, is Stephen Guilbeault. And so he probably took the time to just think about it over the holidays, and we'll see. He needed probably to just figure it out for himself before making any sort of announcement. So he might stay for a little while, or he might go. But that's also someone else to be thinking about.
Gary, you were nodding aggressively as Emily was speaking about the conflict issues for Freeland. We're told she's been cleared by the Ethics Commissioner. For what that is worth, the Ethics Office is often very opaque on some of these things, and it's hard to get that from them directly. And I'm told that the resignation will happen before the end of this month. So does that alleviate it in any way? Because I know Michael Barrett and a lot of Conservatives are out today saying she's got to go right now. You can't be a part-time MP if you're going to do this.
No, it doesn't alleviate the situation. She's still receiving, Canadian taxpayers are paying her salary, $209,000 a year, while she is technically being employed by a foreign government. If that doesn't scream a blatant conflict of interest, I don't know what does. Now, I am one of Canada's biggest supporters in Ukraine. I've been banned by Russia, but when you have a situation like this, it actually harms the cause for Ukraine because it gives rise to people to make all sorts of accusations about what role she's having. And so she needs to resign immediately. And the pseudo resignation, she resigned her parliamentary secretaryship because that falls under the Conflict of Interest Act. And she would be even a further blatant conflict of interest. And the only reason she had that job in the first place was to give her a salary bump up and to allow her to do some travel on the government dime in that role, which she couldn't do as a member of parliament. But she is a blatant situation of a conflict of interest. And the longer she sticks around, the longer it's going to continue to fester. And even worse, it makes it look, and I think the reality is that the Liberal government is acting in its own self-interest to protect itself rather than do the right thing and avoid a conflict of interest. And as Cheryl pointed out, yeah, there are a lot of vacancies, but there are strong public servants who could fill those positions, not waiting for some attenuated Liberal MPs to quit to fill those positions. So I think that is something for people to remember as well.
We'll wrap it up right there, gang. If you like that video, check this one out, check that one out. That's a playlist. I think that's a video, something like that. Aaron Canadian Looney, like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching the video. We'll catch you in the next one. Ciao for now.